Hi, my name is Jocelyn Owens, and I am doing my week 3 assignment for interview practice, going over 2 questions and how I would raw, no cut, do it in an actual interview. So, the first question that we're going to be doing is, what personal strengths do you find especially helpful in your teaching? And I really have 3. The first one is that I really pride myself on the fact that I am an active listener. That if my students need something, that if my administration needs something, I'm going to be listening to what they need, as long as it doesn't take away from other students' education or other students' needs. And if someone tells me, if we're doing a volleyball unit, if someone tells me, hey, Miss Owens, I loved doing this activity, it made me feel XYZ, and it made my body feel XYZ, then I'm going to find a way to incorporate that same skill into other lessons. I'm going to try to incorporate into soccer or into basketball, into any way that I can. And same thing with the opposite thing, where, hey, Miss Owens, like, I really didn't like that we did this. This made me feel uncomfortable. This made me like XYZ. If they don't feel as if the gym is a safe space, then we're also going to change that as well. And same thing with administration, definitely going to take what administration says to heart and what they think is best and what they know is best for my gym. And one of the second ones that I think, second traits that I really pride myself on is that I'm a natural born leader. If something needs to be led, if there's a class activity and people aren't really coming up and answering, even if I don't know it, I'm most likely going to say something. I'm going to take lead over something. And being a teacher, being a natural born leader is so extremely important for the sake of just the kids. Being able to lead them. And I like saying guide, being able to guide them in the right direction for what they need, or being able to guide students through activities, especially with physical education. Being able to guide students through physical education activities is definitely super important. And not being afraid to be a leader, not being able to guide these students into what they need. Because, I mean, especially for K through 2, you're their first person teaching them all these things. So having that leadership with that confidence. And the last thing that I'd say, last character trait that I really enjoy about myself is how good of a communicator I am. I pride myself in my communication, and if something's wrong, I'm going to tell you right away. If something needs to be fixed, I'm going to go to what the root of the problem is or who I need to reach out to get a problem solved. If someone isn't going to be there, or if I'm not going to be somewhere, my administration or the people who need to know immediately are going to know immediately, and sub-plans will be written, and there will be, unless it's obviously something that is just out of my control. And very last minute, I definitely pride myself just in my abilities to communicate and to be able to give people a heads up. What plans do you have for the integration of technology in your classroom? Now that it's reaching 2025, there's not really a conversation of whether should we start integrating technology into our classroom. It's more of we need to, or we will be behind. And I believe that in physical education, using technology is one of the most underused resources, and I am so excited to actually start using technology in my actual PE class. So we can, starting off with like a super basic model would basically just be using pedometers. That would count, basically getting a step count in for the students and using that as a certain way that can also be a way to assess based on students' movement for the day. Because in PE, our goal is for students to be moving 80% of the time. And in these 25-minute class periods with elementary, it's definitely not that much time, but luckily in high school, we have more time. With high school, we have more time to use more technology. And heart rate monitors are also another extremely underused and underappreciated PE resource, because using heart rate monitors at such a young age, starting in middle school, is great for students to really understand what does it mean if my heart rate is 180 beats per minute, or what does it mean if it's only 50, and really just going over our zones 1 through 4 for our heart rate, and knowing like if I'm in zone 2, this is optimal for XYZ. Or if I'm in zone 4, this is optimal for XYZ as well. And so using heart rate monitors is also a really good way for class management, in the sense of, if I say we're playing ultimate football and my students have to score, they're scoring, but there's always these two guys that are just like the most athletic in the class, so it's only these two passing to each other. But if you incorporate heart rate monitors, not only is it starting to like use that tactical thinking and that critical thinking of, why are heart rate monitors important? Why is it important to know our heart rate? But we also can I can say, hey, you can only score points if your heart rate is at 110. And these guys that are running back and forth are not going to be able to. And so it really kind of helps with the classroom management, as in everyone gets involved and everyone sees their heart rate. And I love heart rate monitors. And another way as well is, the older we get, the more phones that are going to be around classrooms and gyms, especially in secondary education. Really using phones and using apps. There's a couple of apps. It's called Agit. It's a Swedish, basically workout creator. And I could have my students create create a workout. And there's also different apps that you could use to talk about and correct form for, we'll say, batting practice, or for how to feel the ball. And so there's so many different apps that you could use where students can individually analyze how they are. And that also takes away from the classroom of like, it kind of makes it more discreet if students are focusing on their own thing and with their own abilities. But yes, technology in a physical education classroom is so underrated, underappreciated, but hopefully by the time that I'm out at schools, more schools will be willing to use it. And if not, I will be able to influence my future school district into using more technology in physical education.